Hello and welcome to Arn. As always, Paul Bromwell back in the captain's chair again. Here we are, the month of April, a first Tuesday for us to get together in the month of April, Arn. And we're together again on the Four Horseman Network on One True Sport. And I am joined by the Hall of Famer, the founder of the Four Horsemen. He is the creator of the Spine Buster. He's the 1A Tag Team Wrestling, our television champion, my tag team partner. He's Arn Anderson. Arn, how are you this week, man?
Notice anything?
I do.
Got on the new
hoodie.
Yep, and on the back.
Yeah, let's do a little modeling. Look, Arn, he doesn't do this often, so you guys are going to get a show here.
Can you see it?
I can't. The hood's in the way, I think. Oh, I can see it now as you start to lean up. But that's your Hall of Fame, the whole insignia and all of that on the back. You'd have to stand up a little bit more on, but you don't have to do that. I think they get the picture.
Can you see it now?
I saw a little bit better at first when you lean forward. Yeah, there you go. That's the top half of it. That looks sharp, man.
Got more compliments over this design that you put together. This was all you. I've gotten more. You know, the last event that I was at, people were really wanting to know where you can get those T-shirts. So
okay,
they're popular, and I like the hoodie.
And I'm rocking the Brain Busters. Arn, I didn't get to tell you this. We were doing some prepping before. I was at AEW Dynasty on Sunday with my son, and I rocked the white Horseman hoodie, the light one, the new light one, like thinner material that we have. And I got several compliments just walking through the building. You know, guys our age, guys younger, it doesn't matter. You probably see it coming through the line that respect and know the brand and love it. It was so cool.
It's nostalgia.
Yeah,
that's for sure. Yep.
Yeah, and it was awesome, and had a good time there. But buddy, I check it out. This perfect segue. Check out 1tsport.com for all the great merch. T-shirt season's coming back, and as I say that, I don't know what's going on in Charlotte. I can tell you, I feel like we're always like Weatherman Jones anymore here. We can't get out of the 40s again here in Pennsylvania. It's like a cold front has happened. So once again, I'm in my sweatshirt. So that's okay. I love them. So
last week we had like 88 a couple of days, and then it dropped down to 68 the third day. It's just crazy.
It's 41 right now here where I'm at. I mean, come on. Well, I'm trying to get back outside walking again. That's some of the most fun of the warmer weather is getting outside, getting moving. And man, 30s, 40s, no thank you. But hey, listen, we are so thrilled to have all of you here. I see people filing in to the live YouTube. We're back once together. We're going to be covering all things November 1995. Listen, Super Chat, that's where it's at. All right, so make sure, because we are going to be covering a topic today. It's not Ask Arn almost anything, but we're still going to try to get some questions in. But especially if you super chat us, we're going to do everything we can to make sure we get those questions answered. But Arn, before we jump into that, as always here on the show, I want to make sure that you get to talk a little bit about where you're going to be soon. And as we were talking beforehand, the big show coming up, one of the, as we say, the granddaddy of all the shows is right around WrestleMania weekend for you and Brock, and that is right here in Las Vegas. I know you can't wait for WrestleCon.
It's huge. It's such a huge event. Everything surrounding WrestleMania is huge, and you get the opportunity to, you know, with WrestleCon coming in, there's going to be, God, I would say in excess of 100 talent, probably. I would think at WrestleCon, and you know how I feel about thanking the fans and intermingling with the fans and all that. I really look forward to it, and Brock does as well. And we're just looking forward to it big time. Plus, it is Las Vegas, by the way. I may be sitting over there somewhere with the little old ladies and playing some slots, and you're just liable to walk up on me anywhere. Who knows?
I think they can definitely find you at the slots. Arn, you remember a few years ago, I was with you. Well, I was there. I don't say with you there, but I saw you in Vegas, and you were over at the slot machines. Remember that?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
It doesn't take any talent at all just to punch the slot machine. And if it's your time to win, you win. Most of the time, it's not my time, but
you have fun doing it, and that's all that matters, buddy.
Can't play if you don't, you can't win if you don't play, right?
There you go. I love it. I see Miss Amy's here with us. I see CG. A lot of our friends are here right now. Thank you all for being here and piling in and joining us this week. It means so much to us. Arn, let's continue on with the road show is not over for Arn Anderson. Busier than ever. Then he's headed to Indianapolis for Squared Circle Expo, April 25th through 26th. Another big event for you, Arn, in the month of April that I know you're excited about. So tell them a little bit about that one.
Well, and again, we'd heard about that particular show for years. People saying, why don't you come to that one? And it never occurred to us that, it was the magnitude of what it is. It's, again, a ton of talent in Indianapolis, which is a great sports city. And it's kind of located in an area of the country who may not get a lot of entertainment all the time. So it's going to be a great show. We did the one last year, and can't wait to do the one this year, 25th, 26th April.
Arn, I know it's this is way later in the year, but I'm going to plug it because I'm going. You have a lot of other appearances that we're going to get to, but this is the one I want to talk about because I'm going to be here with you. And that's the Gathering 6, a new beginning in your hometown of Charlotte, July 30th through August 3rd. I even heard our research guy is going to make an appearance. Andrew, he's going to be there too. It's not far from him. Brock and Arn. I said we would only do the first two, but I had the slide, so I had to show it. And I'm excited because I'm going to finally get to see you. We haven't gotten to connect so far this year, so I'm looking forward to that one too.
Well, that's home team. That's Charlotte. Very rarely do we get to actually do something in Charlotte, and we're looking forward to that. It's about 30 minutes from the house, so.
Listen, I can't wait. Charlotte's going to be a great time. I hope many of you all the way down can be there. Amy Vaughn, I'd love to see you in Charlotte at the Gathering. Rob, Tim, Daisy Mama. Daisy Mama, as I'm scanning quickly, I don't read everything. She just said we had a little snow in West Virginia, but it didn't stick where I'm at. What is going on?
Crazy. And there'll probably be some wildfires. I hope I don't jinx anything, but we've had those about every week. Yeah. Tornadoes about every week. Heat last week, which was like summer heat. So it's just all over the place.
It's a crazy time, but listen, this is where the place is to be, all sitting in front of your YouTube channel, whether it's on your mobile device, your cell phone, or if you're able to sit in front of your computer or iPad. Really check it out. Listen, I'm going to ask a couple questions before we get into it this week. So start firing them in, use the super chat, and we'll have a good time. And Graham, he asked a question. Arn, I'm curious, have you been able to watch any of the Dark Side of the Ring episodes so far this season?
Well, I watched Hell in the Cell, obviously.
Okay, yeah.
I've said many times, kudos to Mick Foley for what he has done with his body for the good of the business. And it's just some of this stuff, it just is beyond me how you not forget about walking away. How you don't just be completely, totally just decimated by some of the stuff he has done over the years. This set a new precedent. I think they hit the ceiling with this one, both of the bumps, the one off the top of the cage. And those of us that have actually been in a ring and made our living in a ring, we know what that second one from the top of the cage, through the cage to the bottom, down to the mat, that's the one that just gave me chills because I know how that had to feel. I fell off the apron, flat on my back on the cement, with the pad down, even with, that goes around the ring, and it just jars the life out of you. And that's only about 3 or 4 feet. Can you imagine the top of the cage all the way down?
That, and I don't know if we may have talked about it. My memory is just getting terrible, all the shows and things that we've done together. But Arn, is there one bump that sticks out to you through your career, maybe 1 or 2, I don't know, that sticks out to you as, my God, I will never forget the pain that I felt after taking a bump like that? Just thinking about what Mick Foley's done to his body.
I tell you, I was managing Cody at an AEW, event, and I want to say it was Atlanta. And I was up on the apron, and he ran into me, and I went off. Nope, let me back that up. Prior to that, I was trying to shoot around from the apron. I popped up on the apron. I was trying to go around the post to get on the other side of the post. But for some reason that day, I didn't go out and look at the dimensions. I wasn't aware that it was the piece of steel that runs across the top of the turnbuckle was longer than anyone I'd ever did that. You know what I'm talking about?
Sure.
When you just shoot around the post.
Yep.
And I reached out to grab it and slipped and went off and hit flat on my back. And it, like I said, it was only 3 or 4 feet. Now I am older and things hurt a lot more. And it was just one of those things that it jarred the life out of me. And I was able to catch my breath enough to actually pop up on the apron again and get knocked off kind of on my feet. But that's the one that, just because of, I guess because I wasn't expecting it, I didn't have time to adjust. That one really shook me up.
It's one of my good, dear, close personal friends, Efren, longtime fan of the show, longtime fan of you, Arn. One of the things that always has freaked him out, one of the many things that has always freaked him out, though, is watching guys like you and others that have served the business for so long, done such a wonderful job, now maybe walking talent down, coming down a ramp. Bret Hart, I think about him too at one point, because I think he carried the title off, the AEW title off, and there might have been a slip. Having that type of a fall at this point in your career, and how scary that is. You talked about trying to walk around the outside of that ring post. One misstep. You guys are in your 60s now and things like that. It's different. It's not as nimble, and that's normal. It's expected. And that's just a little scary for us fans, especially who really love and appreciate all you've done for the business. So when you talk about that bump, that was scary.
Well, you can't take anything for granted. The steps with each company that are on the floor for you to walk up to get in the ring, some are completely flush where they don't move 1 inch. And some, when you step up on that second step, they wobble a little bit. And that's all it takes if you're not expecting it.
And if you're not doing it over and over again, right? You're out there for just a quick minute or so.
Yeah. That can turn out to be something that used to be just ridiculous to even consider. Well, what do you mean you got hurt because the stairs wobbled? But when you're in your 60s, you're not as sure-footed as what you used to be, and it don't take much.
We started this off talking about Mick Foley, and we have some time here before we jump into November, and we're talking about the bump he took. And remember, that chair followed in and smacked him in the mouth, the tooth in the nose, the whole bit. It was just crazy. Well, we had our first super chat about it, and it's from none other than Yambag Jones. And so I'm just looking at you because you're just like, what's about to happen here? It's good. Trust me. He says, Yambag says, how many zeros would need to be on the end of that check for you to take that Hell in the Cell bump, Arn?
That's one that there wouldn't be enough, because there's a pretty good chance I'd be dead. Mick Foley is built, and it was in the cards for him to take that bump. I don't know that anybody else on earth could have escaped that, even as bummed up and beat up as he had to be the next morning. I don't know of anybody else that would agree to that, who could take that and actually come out of it alive. He may be the only one.
Yeah, Yambag said it in the chat. There isn't enough. So, I mean, think about it. Who else?
Can't spend it if you're dead.
Right.
Bingo. And a lot of people have been killed, and I hate to be this dramatic, but with a lot less.
Yeah.
I mean, how many people in normal society have went up to clean their gutters out or something on their house, and ladder fall backwards and on top of them? And I mean, God knows it, day-to-day stuff. It doesn't take much to kill you. And it just, to me, it was just horrified. I just thought to myself, well, if he makes it out of this, we finally hit the ceiling. You know, there's a barometer to everything, and there's a stopping point to everything, and we just saw it not once, but twice in the same match.
Some of you guys and gals have asked about World War III, which we're going to get to part of the show. So I've starred your question. We're going to ask some of those questions. CG says, good evening, Paul and Arn. Hope you guys are having a great week so far. Always a pleasure to see you both. So Tim, Daisy, we're going to get to some of your World War III questions and keep some of those coming. I love to be on topic with the questions as well. But want to give you a chance, Arn, to talk a little bit about Brock before we jump into it, because he's doing his thing. I know he's going to be doing some more work with AML. He's doing his thing with MLW, and wanted to see how everything's going with your son.
He's paying his dues. He's, I think he's improving every single time. He's just in that environment. He pays attention. He watches the other matches. He sees, what makes sense. He sees looks like maybe it doesn't make sense, and has his own deduction of what to do and what not to do. He's paying his dues, and we're, like I said, I always like to thank AML and MLW for using him, and CW, and having CW right there ringside to help guide him is such a blessing. It's just a process, and he's getting there, inching along, and a couple of days a week, he just goes over to the school that he was broke in, Lodi's camp, and he gets a good day over there or two. So he's doing with what is available. He's doing all you could expect.
Man, it's great to hear. All of us, I'm sure, watch and follow him on social media. So we're keeping up with his career, whether it's watching it on YouTube or a streaming app, or just checking out what he's got going on social media. And it's just awesome to see the career progression, and then to sit and be able to chat with you every two weeks and to hear you talk about it. So just very happy for Brock and all that he has going on for him right now.
Well, any dad is always proud if their son decides to follow in their footsteps in whatever endeavor. If they're an accountant, if they're an athlete, whatever, fly fisherman, whatever it may be, if they follow your footsteps, you're very proud of that. And in this business, sometimes it's a good idea and sometimes it's not. I couldn't be prouder of it.
Rob joked in the chat, and I don't think he was joking. I think he was dead serious. Man, would love a rotation where we see Brock and Mark Marrow and some of these come back through the show. Hey, you never know. Arn, you and I were just talking before we went live how fun that Mark Marrow show was. We loved having Brock. We loved having Tully. And we just think there's going to be more and more opportunity as we go to every now and then inject some of these guys on the show here. And we've gotten tremendous feedback on it. It was great having Mark Marrow here last time.
Yeah, if you want them back, all you have to do is ask, and we'll have them back, guys. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, for sure. And a lot of great memories with guys working with Arn. So we have another gentleman up our sleeve that we're going to talk to and see if they come out and join us. I'm sure they will. And so we're excited about that in the near future. But let's get into it while we're all here, not only to kind of hear and catch up with Arn, but also to talk to him a little bit and pick his brain about November 1995 and World War III and the three rings in Norfolk at the Scope and all the good times that happened here. But to bring everybody up from where we were about a month ago, we were closing it all down at Halloween Havoc, monster trucks on the roof. You remember that, talking about that. Jimmy Hart, the turn on Hogan. Giant wins the title, which it was okay on a DQ for him to win the title. The title is later now held up. Also, we saw Lex Luger. He turns on Hulk Hogan. And so they make this decision to hold up the title. And now the title is going to be on the line at the big pay-per-view in November, World War III. Now, Arn, the way this works, 20 men in one ring, 20 men in another, and 20 in another. So 60 altogether. As we get into this, I'll break down the card. We'll talk about how it all worked out. But they had 3 different commentary teams. So you had Chris Cruz and Larry Zbyszko out of ring. You had Tony Schiavone out of ring as well. And then you had Eric Bischoff, Dusty Rhodes. Schiavone was with Bobby Heenan. So it was an interesting concept, never been done before. Before we jump into getting there and talking about the card, thoughts on this going into it? When they told you, Arn Anderson, we're going to do a 3-ring 60-man battle royal, what are you thinking? Like, this is going to work? This is too much? Did you have any initial thoughts?
I look at it as purely from a performer standpoint. Battle royals will either be good or rotten, because there's only so many things you can do in that setting. It's just, you get 20 people in the ring and people get involved in the match mentally, and they get rocking and rolling, and they forget, hey, there's 19 other people in this ring. You know, before I get knocked on my ass, or before I throw a punch, or before I do anything, I better be aware of where those other people are. Because if they're right behind you and you get knocked on your can, you land on somebody's knee, somebody gets injured. You got a guy trapped in the corner, guy's walking up behind you, you go to throw a punch, you end up elbowing them in the teeth. There's so many things that can happen during that much activity in one ring, much less 3. And I just looked at it from a common sense standpoint. If you're a fan, how many things can you watch at one time? You know,
it felt like you were watching this show. Like it was almost like me, you, and Mark Marrow. That's how they had the screen split with the 3 rings. It was with the board around it. It was almost like watching this is like the old school, how they had it set up when I was watching back the pay-per-view. I thought this is a StreamYard screen. The way they had it all set up, but then they eventually morphed it down, and we'll get into some more details, but I want to talk about kind of the storylines getting into the card. I mentioned the Giant, they take the title from him, they decide to hold it up. There's questions, there's thoughts. Was it, are we protecting Hogan still by stripping the Giant? Or do you think it was, hey, we want to boost this World War III concept and say, hey, whoever wins gets to win the world title. So we think this is an effective. In your estimation, do you think it was about protecting Hulk, or, hey, let's really pump up this big match that we've never had before?
I don't know what the thought process actually was, to be honest with you. You can look at it. Is it exciting? You got all these people, and it's a spectacle. It absolutely is a spectacle, but still, it's hard to watch more than 1 or 2 things at a time. And when the eliminations go down, if people aren't watching that and keying in on that, especially if you're at home, if you're in the arena, you have a wider viewing area. You can see everything. When you're at home, you can't necessarily. If the camera's shooting something else, you get eliminated. I think you lose a little bit of reaction there. I wasn't a huge fan of it. Let me put it to you that way.
Well, what else was going on around this time is Luger had turned heel. He joins up with the Dungeon of Doom. So you have that, and you'll see that he's going to take on Macho Man at this at the pay-per-view. But I want to talk a little bit about the Horsemen, because all of you had turned on Sting at the last pay-per-view at Halloween Havoc. And so now it's going to build to a Sting Flair match at World War III. But there were some happenings that went on at Nitro leading up to World War III. Sting defeats Flair on November 6th at Nitro and refuses to release the Scorpion Deathlock until Luger whispers something in his ear. But they're building this tension between Sting, Hogan, and Savage. But I want to talk more about this edge. We've always known Sting to be this white meat baby face, but all of a sudden now he has a little bit more attitude. And I'm kind of digging this side of Sting because we haven't seen that at this point. Or what are your thoughts on Sting? Like, he's not releasing the holding it in, the Scorpion Deathlock on Rick. And I think it was just more of, I'm sick of you screwing me one more time like you and the Horsemen did again at the Havoc.
I don't think there was anything heelish about it. Flair had it coming.
Mm.
We all had it coming. If he would have done that to any of us after what we had done to him, we deserve it. And that's just Sting having a little rougher, darker edge to the way he fights back. There's a way to wrestle and out wrestle your opponent. And if your opponent wants to take it up to another level, you need to bring it up and meet him. And that's what he did by not releasing that hold.
I also think too, it's kind of like the evolvement as we go through the 90s of, we obviously have the traditional baby face and heel rules, but it's kind of okay. You're starting to see that morphing. It's kind of okay for the baby face to have a little bit of an edge. And we'd see that with the Attitude Era take off, but you're already starting to see this now here with Sting.
Yeah. And I think fans got it. They liked it. It worked.
Let's talk a little bit about Lex Luger and Randy Savage, guys, because Luger attacks Savage arm, which if you remember from World War III, he's going to hone in on that injury, and he attacks it on November 13th at that Nitro. Sting doesn't make the save, and but we have the big adversarial headbutting now of Luger and Savage going at it. I really enjoyed the believability of Luger and Savage, and as I went back and watched this, Arn, especially World War III, man, there was some intensity in this one too. Savage just has a way of bringing it out in people, doesn't he?
He is intense, or he was intense, and everything you remember about him. The one thing, if you ask any talent that had been in the ring with him as an opponent or as a partner or whatever it may be, Randy was intense. I mean, he was intense about every aspect. Where Elizabeth was concerned, he was off the deep end every time he was in a match. The guy was he was intense. If he's walking around backstage, he just had this look on his face like, get out of the way.
And listen, he brought it out of a guy like Lex Luger. Not saying Lex Luger, couldn't get intense or couldn't get fired up, but there was just something about the guys that Randy worked with. I felt like as a fan, he just seemed to always bring the best out of them. We'd see it with DDP years later in the feud that he had with him too.
Well, Randy was a guy, if you didn't fight him, he was like Ronnie Garvin, he'd eat you up. So you had to bring the intensity back to him. Whatever he brought to you, you got to bring it back to him, or he'd eat you alive.
One more key item I want to talk about before we get into World War III. Guys, get your questions in. We would see, Arn, on November 20th, the first WCW match between Hulk Hogan and Sting. A lot of fans have talked about this. I've gotten some feedback, some people DMing me this week. Wanted to know your opinion. Do you think Nitro should have been the first time we ever saw a match between Hogan and Sting, or that'd have been best served at a pay-per-view? We're armchair quarterbacking this, obviously, at this point.
I think if you've never seen it, you never thought you would see it, and now you're going to get it, it's worth the price of admission. That would have been a pay-per-view main event for me.
They had Hogan. He was all dressed in black, still babyface. Dungeon of Doom ends up interfering. And so obviously finish is protected. But yeah, all of us little stingers brought up on Sting. He's the man, he's the icon at this point still. He's the franchise, if you will, for WCW. And then Hogan coming in. I want to see that on pay-per-view. What do you guys think? I want to hear what your thoughts are in the chat too. But it was for Nitro. But again, they're still building Nitro. So there's some that may say, well, you're still trying to attract that audience and you're going against the Monday Night Raw and you're still trying to draw the ratings.
I think we tell the audience what is the biggest match we can put on, our programming. And if we do it, if we give it away for regular TV, then we're telling them it's not worth whatever the cost of a pay-per-view buy is. We tell them that. And I just feel like if it's a main event on a big pay-per-view, then everybody understands you got to pay to see this one.
Daniel Thompson, I've read your chat and you're absolutely right. He said, I remember the promo Sting cut on Ric Flair going back to leading up to Halloween Havoc 95. And the swerve was Sting telling Ric Flair that he would leave him for dead if he turned on him.
I loved it.
So that's exactly why I held on to that Scorpion Deathlock for so long like he did. So thank you for sharing that. Let's see. Michael Jensen, I'm going to go over to the chat here before we jump into World War III. He has a super chat. Going to put it on the screen. Michael, always love having you here. He said, I always thought a better payoff would have been having it go to one person per ring. Then those three fight for the, insert whatever your prize of choice is. What they did, Arn, is they got down to 10 in each ring and then brought them all together as a group of 30 in the main ring. But he's thought, hey, I would have loved it to get down to one each and then have a three-way at the end. That's a cool concept.
I agree with you, Michael, 100%.
There you go, right from Double A's lips there. Let's see, what else have we got going on here? Tim Angston wants to know, what was more ridiculous, World War III or the Bunkhouse Stampede?
At least the Bunkhouse Stampede, you got people fighting out in the crowd and things that you don't get any other time or any other place. So I think that was actually a better viewing spectacle than I just wasn't a big fan of the 3-ring battle royal. I just wasn't.
Daisy Mama said, Arn, and I think you just answered that question. Did you like the premise of World War III, the 60 men, with 3-ring battle, or did you prefer the Royal Rumble premise of 30 men and the surprise factors of not knowing who's next?
Yeah, I mean, the Royal Rumble is a good concept because you don't know who's coming out. You've got, 30 people? Is it 30 people in the Rumble? Is that about right?
Yeah.
So you start with 2, and now you got 29 surprises.
28 other after that. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So every time somebody comes through the curtains is a surprise. Once everybody comes down and you see that, okay, there's everybody. There's no surprises left coming out of the curtain.
I love all these opinions and interaction in the chat, guys. Keep it coming. Ryan Nodal says, I think you needed to launch Nitro very strongly. So a Hogan Sting match would have definitely helped with that launch. So there's that perspective too.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all Monday morning quarterbacking here.
I love it.
And that's the beauty of it. You can be a booker. You can, in this business, you can watch something and watch it go down and go, I would have done this. And, you may be one of many people that would agree with you. So it's have fun with it.
CG, as I go up through the chat, I see that you had a very similar question about Sting saying he would leave him for dead as well. And all good stuff. So let's get into it. And I've got some visual elements that hopefully you can appreciate. The first photo I was going to share is the Norfolk scope and the layout of what it looked like that night. 12,000 were in attendance, obviously not all 12,000 here, but this is what the setup looked like. Arn, first thoughts as you look back now on these days and see those 3 rings. Never seen anything like it, I don't think, since. Has anybody? I don't think anybody's done this since.
No, I don't know I don't think anybody knew what they were going to get to see. Just had to wait till it unfolded.
So that was the setup at the scope. How was it to be back in Norfolk? I mean, that is Horseman country, buddy.
Those military guys, they do not like us. They did not like us. That was not one of our towns that they were Horseman fans, which made it really easy to get heat and to create a great atmosphere. Nothing like 6 sailors all had about 10 beers apiece. Well, by the time you get to the ring, they're ready to raise some havoc.
Let's get into the card. That sounds like a fun environment to be in. As we start to talk about the card, there's a point where Hogan, Sting, and Macho Man come to have an interview time. I think it's with Mean Gene. And they're talking, and Hogan references the Wrestling Observer because he's taken off the black gear that he's been wearing and throws it into a pot that's on the stage, a kettle or whatever, and it breaks out in the fire. It starts to burn up. And then he's also is talking about burning up the dirt sheet. It's the first time that I can remember where a dirt sheet is referenced on a pay-per-view. I thought that was pretty interesting.
I don't even recall that, but that's in those days you wouldn't have gave them credit for anything.
Never. And Hogan did it. He said the Observer. So I thought that was wild. So just something I had in my notes. I have a few more. We have our buddy who's kicked us off the first, and I mentioned this at the end of the show. Here he is, Diamond Dallas Page against Mark Marrow with Kimberly. She was at stake. Not only was the WCW TV title at stake, but also Kimberly as well, which Mark Marrow would win. He wins the TV title. He wins the services, quote unquote, of Kimberly. They cut a promo afterwards. They interview with Mean Gene, and he's telling her that he's going to give her some time to consider if she wants to be with him, his valet, or do her own thing. But that was how that one would come out. And then another match, and by the way, he obviously retained the title. Then we had Big Bubba Rogers. Now he's back to Big Bubba, Arn. Did you prefer one way or the other? Any characters? I mean, he's been the big boss man. He's been so many different characters through the years. He's back to Big Bubba Rogers. Do you like Big Bubba Rogers? That's who I came to know and love from the Crockett era.
You know what? He was so good, and especially for a guy his size, he was so smooth. He could do no wrong. And the guy was just a tremendous performer. Every aspect of the business. That guy right there, I don't care if you dressed him up, as Mickey Mouse. It didn't matter.
Right.
He just was that good.
So true. We Big Bubba would defeat Hacksaw Jim Duggan in that match. And then we moved on. We talked about this showdown. It's Lex Luger and Macho Man. Now, these guys are all going to end up being in this battle royal too. Luger defeats Savage by submission with an arm bar. He goes after that arm that he messed up on Nitro. Here's a couple pictures and images from that fight. But again, very intense match between these two. Savage brought the intensity. Just a great all-around matchup. If you haven't watched this card, there are some matches here, and I'm going to tell you, the next one that I really enjoyed, I'm not going through every match, but the ones that I have here, pictures, Sting and Flair. The crowd was so into this match, Arn, in Norfolk. They were red hot. I mean, on their feet. Sting and Flair wrestled around the ring. It was a brawl, and it was classic. Flair was jumping out and jumping into the other rings. Sting was chasing them. These two just had chemistry. Some of my favorite spots are Flair going in for the chop and Sting no reacting, doing the flex, coming out and just going after Rick. You would just want to talk about chemistry.
Rick brought the best out in everybody he worked with. I mean, he just knew what to do. He was a showman. When he would chop you out there close to the crowd, he would lay it in there so that after he chopped a guy and took a step back, there was a handprint embedded in his chest. People believed it, and he just knew what to do with each individual talent, and he featured all of Sting's good stuff and just made him tough.
Sting wins. Flair submits. Scorpion Deathlock. So a big win for Sting here. Flair, by the way, wore the purple robe that night. I say that because I've been fortunate enough to actually hold that purple robe in my hands at one time, thanks to Conrad Thompson and being a part of that group several years ago. But just very cool, great match, a lot of energy. But then we moved on, Arn. And one of the things that I just enjoyed so much was they had to do the introduction for all of you to come down. Who do you think is the first person out of the 60 names that David Pinzer had to read consecutively? Who do you think was the first one to be announced?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Oh, well, I do. And there's the freaking man right there, Arn Anderson. First one out.
So just like War Games, I was first one out of the curtain.
First one out of the curtain, number 60 was Hulk Hogan. And Arn, you were number 1. And buddy, you would hang in there. I think you were you and Flair were like 7 and 8 of the last 8 that were in the ring in terms of elimination. So not only were you the first to ring, but you were one of the last major players in the ring for this incredible matchup. And buddy, it was crowded. When we talk about it, there's some pictures here of the match. You're going to see these on social media. But guys, I'm sure you all recognize as you go through this.
I mean, that's just chaos.
This is just one of the rings. Picture 3 rings like this.
Very dangerous.
Talk about how does this work, Arn, in terms of there's going to be 60 people. You know who, probably are the last 10 that have to be in the ring? Are you told? Or what does that look like in the back is trying to figure this out?
That would be up to the booker to lay out whatever order he sees building towards the last few, which is another set of drama. Look at Haku.
He's just standing there posing for pictures.
He's just waiting for an opening to chop that damn giant, I guarantee you.
I knew you'd like that one.
Oh, you can see he's waiting on an opening. Look at him.
We got one more here, Sting. Look, Eddie Guerrero. Look at the Paul Orndorff and Hulk Hogan going at it. That's like it's WrestleMania 1 all over again, you know?
Yeah, history.
And then it's crazy. And then there's Sting and Eddie Guerrero and guys, and it's just incredible the talent roster at this point for WCW. Well, there's no secret here, guys. You know who wins, and it is Macho Man. He would walk out with the big gold that night, but it's not without controversy. Savage wins. He doesn't go over the top, but neither does Hulk Hogan, Arn. He slides out underneath the bottom rope, pulled out, slides out underneath. The ref, I guess, doesn't see it, and they ring the bell, and Hogan comes in. He argues with the referee, and he actually acts it all out, how he slid under. Mean Gene comes into the ring to do an interview. He's like explaining it on the mic. But I'm going to tell you what is the craziest thing to me of all this after he wins. They never really followed up with the whole angle on Nitros or whatever. Savage was your champion. Nothing on Nitro to work off that story about the controversy of Hogan being pushed under the bottom rope. And I mean, did WCW drop the ball not following up on that whole non-elimination angle? Why would you do that and then not follow up with it with some type of a story on your episodic Nitro television show?
You are 100% correct, and I do not have the answer. I wish I did.
Yeah.
But it seems like whoever was Randy's next opponent would have been the next to the last guy in the ring, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Common sense. That's your angle.
Yeah, that's for sure. We have more questions flying in, guys. I want to open it up. That's really how World War III ended that night. And we have plenty of time, actually. We're doing really well on time tonight. And so I want to go back and have you guys ask some questions. Michael Jensen said, Arn, if you look like Ray Traylor, you could have any gimmick that you wanted.
Yep. I guess so.
Yeah.
I mean, he was just a big, agile, tough, and you know what? A nice man. Incredibly nice man.
Arn, Daniel Thompson says, do you ever wonder if WCW should have had its own version of the Royal Rumble where the winner gets a championship match at the Great American Bash or Starrcade?
It would have just seemed like a copy. If they did it second, it would be like, okay, now they're just totally copying WWF. You know, there was enough different concepts out there they could have their own with a little thought.
Scott George says, by the way, guys, that was a callback to Hogan and Sid in one of the Royal Rumbles back in the day where Hogan was dragged out under the bottom rope. How do you feel about that, where something's done maybe in another federation, another company, and then you kind of see the same thing maybe a few years later, but it's the same angle? I mean, we're not stupid fans. Sometimes we are, but yeah.
Maybe they think that fans forget.
I guess.
And it becomes, yeah, I mean, I think fans never forget. If it's something impactful and something that they really enjoy, they don't forget. They remember it for for life.
Tim Angston has a what if for you. You ready for this one?
Yeah.
What if Arn Anderson won World War III and then handed the world title over to Ric Flair?
Number one, I would never do that.
What? Win the title or
either one? Win the title or give it up. If I actually won it, you'd have to kill me to get it out of my hands.
I know, man. That would have been so good.
You know, I would validate what that thing meant to me anyway.
How would have you felt if that was how you won your world title, Arn?
I just never, but people, you know, I don't know if they believe me or not, but, you know, there was a certain group of guys that were acknowledged and appreciated and understood as world champion material. And then there was the rest of us, and that was a small group at the time. I never felt like I was cheated not being the world champion, because I took the world television title and I made it mean something every time I was on TV. I made it look like I was, you know, because I was making that my world title. And if you were going to get it from me, you were going to have to go through hell. And that's what I put out there, and I think that's what you got. It made that TV title mean more than it normally would have, or I hope it did.
Ryan Nodal says, will you both tune in tonight's Dark Side episode? It's about Big Van Vader. Any personal stories with Vader himself?
Yeah, it was like being in a bar fight. He was a handful. And he was stiff, but he was definitely really athletic, and you had to appreciate that. I mean, a guy that size doing a moonsault, pretty impressive. Yes, I will watch it. I think I'll probably wait till Brock comes over, maybe tomorrow. We'll watch it together. There's so much to learn, and watching other guys.
Yeah, I was going to say, if I don't watch it tonight, I'll watch it this week, but I'll definitely watch Vader. What did you guys think of the Ludwig Borger? This is a question for the chat, Arn. I know you didn't get to watch that one. I'm just curious. Personal opinion, it was okay. It definitely wasn't one of their top episodes, but I am looking forward to seeing what they do for Vader. Just curious what you guys think of that episode. Jacob Peace. Jacob Peace says, a little off subject, do you feel the Horsemen were used properly during the Nitro days? I thought having the NWO and the Horsemen as the two toughest on the block, that they would end up having to meet at some point.
We were just used as just to get other guys over. That was just the way we were viewed, and you just accepted it and went on with it, and that's all right.
Do you wish that you were used a little differently, though, like a little bit more steam?
Well, you always want to have more tools on your tool belt so you can draw more money, or you should. You know, I just think when you didn't bring Blanchard back, I can't emphasize enough, nothing else was ever going to be as good as you could. You had one chance to light that fire again, and when Tully didn't come back, nothing else was acceptable.
Yeah, Darth Payne, he said in the chat earlier, I remember I saw a Tully reference. His match with Funk was excellent in '94. Did he ever come close to coming back in the mid-'90s? I know he couldn't come back when he wanted to, but I just can't believe that as the '90s went. But I think at that point, Tully had just started to make some decisions to try a new life trajectory.
Yeah, I think he decided to retire. I don't know that he was blackballed or anything of that nature. He just, you know, he saw that it wasn't going to work, and we all knew it. It would not be the same without Tully, because it had only been like 14 months difference between when we were the hottest and when we were scheduled to come back to WCW. There wasn't like years that had passed.
Right.
It wasn't
that would have been
long.
Such a huge pop to bring him back then.
Yeah, it was only 12, 14 months, whatever it was. And we could have picked it right where we were.
A lot of people in the chat. Amy Vaughn, amen. Daniel Thompson, the Horsemen weren't the same without Tully. I couldn't agree more. Speaking of everything going on with Dark Side of the Ring, we talked about Mick Foley. Ryan, and I didn't get to talk to you about this, said that Mick was in a car accident on April 1st. Did you see that? He got a concussion again.
Well, I mean, it's lucky he's alive. Did you see the vehicle?
The vehicle was, demolished.
He's lucky to be alive. I mean, it's like I said, Mick Foley has 9 lives. You know, he would have to have 9 lives. He's the biggest kitten I've ever seen. You know, because to just survive the stuff that he has survived is amazing. So God bless him. I'm glad he made it. But that looks bad.
For sure. Heather Whitley said, I was at World War III. So this is bringing back some great memories. Heather, that's cool. The fact that you were there. I always love to, I'd love to hear. And again, I'm scrolling through chat, making sure I get everybody in here tonight. If you have any memories that pop out or anything that you can recall from being live at that show, would love to hear them, would share them here. And Darth Payne then chimed in and said, by the way, I'm looking forward to seeing you, Double A, in Beckley in June. So
excellent. Look forward to being there.
That's it for sure. What else do you guys have for us? If not, we're going to go ahead and shut it down. We got about 52 minutes in tonight. Again, reminders on some things. Arn, do you have your comic book handy? I'm looking. I might have put yours up on my shelf behind me, but they can still get your comic, right?
Yes, I will have it with me everywhere that I am. You can get it on Amazon.
Right there.
Yep. And the reviews that I've gotten from it, because I try to tell it like it was, as close to being accurate as possible. And some stuff in there's, a little bit biting and a little bit, God, I didn't expect to hear that. So it's a good read from what I'm hearing. So look forward to, everybody getting one, and I'll be happy wherever I am to sign it for you and personalize it, make it special as we can.
Sounds good for sure. Again, check out the merch store. Arn, I'm so thrilled. I know you are too. We are hearing so much great feedback, not only just about the designs, but then when people get them. Darth Payne, I know you've been a big time purchaser of Horsemen and Arn gear, but when they arrive, the quality, the feel, the fit is wonderful. And every time I send you something, Arn, I'm like, I hope he likes it. And you have been.
I love it. And I knew it would take a minute, but not as long as it did for whatever reason. But the hats have caught on. It's baseball season.
Yes.
All guys wear hats, and the hats have become a very popular item. So we'll have some of those wherever we are as well.
Arn, Rob says, will you be signing your new figure from the Major Brothers? I'm sure you will. I think they ship in June though, right?
Yeah, I haven't gotten them yet, but yes, absolutely. I know they're very, very proud of the finished product, Zach and his crew. So can't wait to see them myself. Tim
wants to know if there's any shot you'll be at Monster Mania this August in New Jersey. Arn, are you planned out that far and ahead?
I haven't scheduled anything that far. June is about as far as we went so far, but certainly worth investigating.
There's another couple conventions that I want to talk to you about offline that I'd love to see you at too. There's one in December actually in Pittsburgh, but and it's more of a con, so it would be perfect for your comic book, I think. I saw that Lita is going to be there, so I wanted to get you some info on that. Daniel Thompson says we need an Arn Anderson action figure with the Kung Fu grip. That's what we need. So never know. You stick around long enough. These companies are making figures of you now. There's another one that's working on one too. So.
Yeah, there's a couple that are doing figures. One is featuring Tully and I's Brain Busters, and video games are coming out.
There's one Ultra Pro Wrestling coming out this year. You're going to be able to download Arn and Tully and fight Demolition. I mean, that's Saturday night's main event. You're going to be able to do that. Nowhere else can you do that. So we're really excited. The year of Arn, when it comes to stuff like merchandise, action figures, video games. I mean, this is crazy. It's awesome.
Very excited. I never thought I would be a superhero, but I'll take it.
You've been a superhero to us for a long time.
too kind.
Yeah. Well, listen, guys, we're going to come back again. Arn, we didn't get to talk again. I was a little bit rushed getting in tonight, but in 2 weeks, are you good for the 22nd for Ask Arn Almost Anything? We'll just do it. We'll just figure it out live here on air. Looking at April the 22nd at 6 p.m. Eastern.
You betcha.
All right. Hey, listen, ladies and gentlemen, this has been an absolute blast. We hope that we see all of you here in 2 weeks. On April the 22nd, we'll be back together again, 6 Eastern. It is Ask Arn Almost Anything. And like I said, we're going to work on some guests too as well. We've had such a good time with that the last time. CG says, I'm with purchasing Arn Anderson stuff, much like I am with getting Elvis Presley merch. The minute it comes out, I buy it. So he's a big Arn Anderson and Elvis fan. So there
Thank you very much. To be in the same sentence with Elvis is pretty stout.
The king of rock and roll and the king of
ring me like a phone, ring me made it roll. How is that close?
Oh, it was
not so much.
It was
okay.
Something. Anyway, it was awesome. We love it. We love you. Listen, great show as usual, gentlemen. Thank you, Scott. On behalf of Arn Anderson, my tag team partner, this is Paul Bramwell. We'll see you right back here in 2 weeks for Ask Arn Almost Anything right here on Arn